Go.
Hi, friends. This is Unwritten Rules of the Road. I'm Tosh, and we have wonderful friends and guests today. Ken Magerman and Collin Schipper. I hope I said that right, of
You
Amaranth.
did. You
Nailed it.
got it.
Oh, yay, I did it. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Oh,
Welcome. Thank you for having us.
yay. Yes. Such a joy. I feel like we've been in like kind of like sat we've been satelliting for a little while because I hit up Ken. This was before the pandemic to play a show together. Alice wanted to play with Amaranth, and it didn't work out. But I'm so excited that we get to do this at Cat's Fixation Festival.
Yes. That's going to be a great one. I mean, just so many exciting bands and friends and just Cat meant so much to our community in Detroit there and Smalls, and just to have so many of her friends there to support and celebrate her is a big deal. And so I'm really stoked to be playing with you guys and just all the amazing bands there. We're really geeked, and we haven't done like a festival like that before. I'm always there to cover Fixation and kind of hang out with everybody, but we hadn't played it previously. So yeah, we're really
Oh,
geeked to be doing that.
that's actually going to be really special. I hope it's okay to mention it, but you have a new release, a new
We
song.
do. Yeah, we
Yes.
see we're one of those like we're so terrible about the promotion of our releases where we just get it done and with no plan or like lead up, big things coming. We're just like, let's put this out, Colin, at like midnight on a Thursday. And I guess people will hear about it when they hear about it. So yeah, we're not precious about trying to keep our secrets. But yeah, we just put out a new single that we wrote and dedicated to Kat about her, called Remember Cat. And we're donating all the proceeds to the Ferndale Cat Shelter, which was Kat's
Mm.
favorite charity. And I don't know, I like the song. It's a banger. It's a fun song. That was with that one, I don't know, something that was tough that we tried to do because Kat was a silly goth, like us, and appreciated kind of the fun of it all. So we wanted something that embraced that, but at the same time had that reverence that we also feel because this one really hurt a lot. And our it's going to take a lot of all of us stepping up to fill the hole left in the scene by not having Kat there. Oh man, now I'm going to get misty already, like
Oh,
5 seconds into the interview. No, that's okay. No, I'm good. I'm good.
yeah.
But yeah, so the new song is out. It's out on Bandcamp, Spotify, all of that. And then at the Fixation Festival, we will be playing it live for the first time. So we're excited for that. And hopefully I won't start ugly crying then while on stage while I sing. Fingers crossed.
Well, that means the rest of us need to learn the lyrics so we can help you sing it.
True, true.
That
Anybody
would
who
be
wants
helpful.
to, that
Yeah.
would be wonderful.
Yes.
They're
So
easy. They're great.
I did. I tried to have very repeatable anthemy lyrics.
Yeah.
So
I love it. Yeah. So it totally got stuck in my head when I heard it. So
Awesome.
I will be singing with you.
good, good.
Yes, yes. Yeah, no, I think it's really amazing and I don't know, like I when we experienced the Detroit music scene ourselves
Mhm.
for the first time, we were really blown away with just how supportive the community was and is. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I grew up over on that. I live out in West Michigan now, Colin and I in Kalamazoo, but I grew up on the east side there. And there is, I mean, Detroit has a special culture around music, going back to whether you're talking MC5, Iggy Pop, I mean, it it always has. And then the electronic scene too, you talk Derek May and kind of the holy trinity of techno. And people the blue collar scene there definitely embraces music, but in particular underground music. And I feel like that's always been a big part of it. And Smalls has been there a long time and always been about that, like whether it's in punk rock or post-punk or goth or ska, they just have always found a place for our thing and our music to be heard, when in a lot of cities that's not always the case. There isn't a club that kind of for live music really dedicates to that as much.
Yeah, no, I mean it's really inspiring, and I was wondering, like, is that kind of what inspired both of y'all to start the band and to get go into the journey of live music yourself, was growing up there?
Um, I mean, we kind of did this version of Amaranth, Colin and I, only about 6 years back.
It's been longer than
Has
that.
it?
That
God, where
hurts
does
to think.
time
It's
go?
like 8 now,
I guess
eight
it
or
is.
9. Yeah.
But I started Amaranth when I got to college in Kalamazoo with some different people, and this was in my 20s when I was a pretty boy in a trench coat with long hair and all that jazz. But Colin and I kind of found each other more, yeah, in my 40s and decided to pick things back up again and restart the project and brought some other people in with it. And um, it was at the time I was kind of rediscovering goth music. It went along with Sounds and Shadows and things like that, but there was a good long time there where I hate to say it, I kind of became one of those bitter, crusty old goths where I just went, well, if it's not the Sisters of Mercy, then fuck this, and just kind of, I don't know, like I gave up at nobody's gonna do anything good anymore, and then whatever it was, like, 6 years ago or so, with Twin Tribes and Actors, and, I started finding these new bands I was falling in love with and going, goth is a renaissance. And now I don't even listen to old music anymore. I can't remember the last time I like put on a Sisters record or Joy Division. I don't have time. I'm too, busy always with the brand new releases that are always pumping out now and wanting to get reviews and things for that. So that was kind of my renaissance, and Colin helped make it a reality and make it easy because, as we talked about, I can't do crap by myself when it comes to technical. So I'm going to let Colin now give his history and story too.
I, I, I mean, I don't have a lot on that. When we did bring it back, the original guitar player, Josh
Yep.
Garman, who's in Crash City Saints and other amazing and wonderful bands,
Yeah.
was part of that as well. So it was a great time just because of how far things have come, where we were able to take a lot of the stuff that Ken and Josh had worked on prior and kind of bring it into a more modern feel with, I mean, still that trying to focus on all those good goth sounds and industrial sounds that we loved. I can't not inject a lot of 90s industrial sound into things. It just happens when I touch it.
It's in your blood.
Yes. So,
Yes.
so I think it got some more of those industrial tinges when I started working on it. A little darker on that side of things, but yeah, it was just joy to bring it back, and then Ken and I just started writing like crazy the second we got together because we're really dumb and we have a lot of fun together. So, and I think that's how it started getting really dumb.
Yeah. That, like, in the past versions of Amaranth, it was
Kind of
usually
serious.
me with, yeah, like two or three other serious people. And when it was Colin and I together, there was nobody to really rein us in or stop us when we were writing goth songs about ninjas and ass play. Like, nobody was there to say, like, this is highly inappropriate. This is not goth. Stop writing about your OnlyFans page, Ken. This is not cool, bro. Um, but, you know, to me, goth music has to be fun. It should be. And people wearing frilly shirts with like cuffs and upside down crosses and everything, if you're taking yourself too seriously while doing that, you are missing part of the fun because it should be a little silly. And I mean, things really are dark and things are hard, especially right now. I mean, a lot of people are going through a very scary world right now. But at the same time, I don't know. I also have to like use gallows humor and laugh. at myself and the world because it's the only way to stay sane, really. And goth music can be for that too. It's a very pageantry based ex-Catholic type music, and I think that's something that we try and make sure we keep incorporated while having songs too that are serious and have serious themes mixed in with us writing right now an EP of songs based off of our Dungeons and Dragons characters that are also goth, whatever.
Yes, I am here for this. I can't wait. That's awesome. I mean, I love that you bring joy into it because I feel like you were saying, like you can't, there is darkness, right? The human
Sure.
experience has darkness in it, but the fact that you can also find that joy, I think, is infectious. It's absolutely infectious. I mean, just getting to chat with y'all right now, I feel like I've laughed already, like the whole time. So, thank you for bringing that light.
I mean, even like serious goth stuff, I think that was always how I took it. Like when I was, whatever, 17, 16, I'd listen to the Swans when I'd have a horrible day and I'm in a bad place. I'm feeling, in my feelings right now.
I
And then
will I will never be Swan's
right,
bad.
no matter what's going on with me, I am not tied to the bloody post of failure. I, I, I am not weighed down by the sinking lead weights of failure. Whatever's going on with me, it's not what that guy is going through. He, and so you know what? I should have perspective. You know what? I'm gonna get a milkshake. I'm gonna be okay.
And I
I
think
really love that.
there's also, I mean, let's be real, the scene is filled with, as one of them, we're just all nerds. I mean, it's so much pageantry and it's so much absurdity. And I feel like we have to accept and embrace that to some
Yeah.
degree. And I was the 16-year-old who everything was so serious and everything was dreadful. But
I had
and
on
how do you not laugh at it once you get out of it?
Yeah, you're sitting there listening to Pretty Hate Machine, some girl just done you wrong, and the world was pretty much over.
Yeah.
I'm amazed that it moved on beyond that day, but somehow it did. And now I'm 47. But 30 years go by and I'm still here. Wow. Who would have figured?
That said, at this point in my life, if we saw Stabbing Westford last year, and I am somehow still 16,
Yeah.
just went through a breakup, and it's the end of the world for those 2 minutes.
Yeah. We were there at Smalls and Colin and I just sat there like crying, holding each other while Chris Hall yelled at us. And we were those kids again, even though we didn't know each other back then. So.
Oh my gosh. I wish I had been there not only to watch the show, but also to watch y'all, because that's amazing.
It was pretty awesome. It's funny because I had talked to Walter Flackis of Stabbing Western before that show at other times because he's in the Sounds and Shadows group. And so I saw him there and I was like, oh, hey, Walter, what's good? It's me. I'm Ken Magerman from the review page, Sounds and Shadows. And he goes, yeah, I know who you are, Ken. We're like Facebook friends. And I was like, well, I mean, whatever. And he goes, hey, cool. Well, it's good. And he talks to me for me. And he goes, do you want to like take a picture with us or something for that? And I was like, oh, I mean, that would be all right if you want to. Like, no big, sure. And I like take this picture with and the whole time I'm like, just be fucking cool. Just be fucking cool. Just be fucking cool. Ken. Oh my God. Oh my God, this is happening. And then Chris Hall walked by and accidentally touched my butt when he walked by. And he was like, oh, sorry. And I said, no, thank you. And he went, okay, all right. So I made it weird. Okay, I made it weird. Whatever.
Weird or fun?
Yes. Yes.
Real quick, I just wanted to say howdy to our friends that are watching. Thank you all so much for joining. Jessica Davis was saying, I agree with Ken where music has to be fun. And Dusty Chalk is saying, amen to that. If you don't fall on your face once in a while, you aren't challenging yourself sufficiently.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Hi to both
Totally.
of you. Hello, everybody out there.
I'm
Yes,
challenging
yes.
myself all the time then. Ha!
Yeah, you do a lot of falling, Colin. Colin does a lot of extreme sports, and we have to like tape him back together before we have rehearsal. Yeah.
Gotcha. So there's cardboard cutout Collins sometimes involved,
Sometimes we
or
have talked about doing a robot version of Colin in case he
Ooh.
can't stand up during a show or something. So we're in the process of working on the technology.
Gotcha. Well, I have great faith. I can't wait to see this. Well, I wanted to ask, so this is for both of y'all. Like, is Amaranth the first live music that you performed with, or was there any projects beforehand?
Yeah, we both, I mean, I would say old Amaranth, like Amaranth from my 20s, was, yeah, probably our first serious thing out of high school, where, I mean, yeah, we got to like open for bigger bands like Switchblade Symphony or whatever, like we did the thing back then. And then this, new Amaranth, we had quite a few projects in between. I did like a mod project. I played in, we talked about the guitar player from Amaranth, Crash City Saints, stuff like that. And Colin has done a bunch of them, many of which metal. So I didn't get to see him play a lot because that would have meant I would have had to listen to metal. But I knew him from the scene, and we talked to the point where one day we said, "What if we just started playing music?"
I actually played for a long time, did a lot of weird experimental electronic and noise things with the old keyboard player from Amaranth.
That's true,
That's
Stid.
part of how I got to know Ken, one of the many ways. Uh,
Talking about it now, I remember what a small and incestuous scene Kalamazoo is.
yeah,
I forget about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
But yeah,
That's
I played in a
that's
number of bands before this and a lot of weird projects and
And brapping.
yes, yeah, we did a lot of like inviting different electronic artists in to do just live electronic experimental weird setup improvisational things, and we'd do those live, we'd do those recorded, all kinds of stuff like that, as well as yeah, metal bands back in the day. So
I ask because I always love like seeing the journey of how people get to where they are in the present, right? Like how like the things that influence you to get to where you are. So, do you feel like you bring some of the experimental electronic elements into Amaranth?
yeah, definitely. Again, recording for us, like I have the studio in the house. I recorded a lot of other bands for years. I from doing the earlier projects, I just ended up with so much gear that then I felt like I was a terrible human if I didn't share that because it was just too much for one person to justify owning.
Yeah.
Um, so and just trying to, just doing demos and stuff like that. At some point, I realized I was better than this than most of the studios I was going to get recordings done. So did a lot of recording for other bands, and so for us studio time is just hanging out and having it's just
Yeah.
fun. So there's so much stuff that just we're playing around, and it's really just us on a Saturday night hanging out and playing, and that ends up on there.
And it kind of, when he talks about his gear and whatnot, at Colin's house, there's more guitars than there are places to sit. That's kind of a given there. But also, aside from the music, when I met Colin, he's a very accomplished visual artist as well, and went to art school and does painting and things like that. So other than music, there was a lot artistically he was still doing before kind of we started up Amaranth again.
Mm. Well, when you were describing like your songwriting process, I could literally just again from chatting with y'all, I being the fly on the wall, I imagined just a lot of laughing and enjoying the whole process, which it really doesn't get much better than that.
A lot of it gets forgotten about for other people's protection. um, we're currently working on some spaghetti western stuff.
Ooh.
Not saying that's a good idea. It might not go anywhere. We'll see. But yeah, dumb ideas just turn into things. So
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of that for our songwriting where we'll kind of just Colin will come up with like a beat or an idea. We'll start adding in layers, and then it'll just kind of strike me of, an idea for a song or something. And usually I don't know. It's not like I have the greatest voice in the world or like that's where my talent lies, but one of the ones I do have is if I have an idea in my head, I can just spit lyrics that I'll use 80% of, like just off the top of my head on the fly. And so usually our songwriting process involves Colin has a beat or an idea, and maybe he'll say the name of the song or something, one word that and then I'll hear that and I'll just kind of do a spit take for it and see what I come up with and see what sticks, and we'll record it. Then we'll bounce a track of that and we'll go back and listen to it for a couple of weeks straight. And I'll rewrite it in my head, shore it up, get it what it needs to be. And then we go re-record it. And it's ready to go, and we kind of have it refined in the idea. But I would say more often than not, that's what our songwriting process involves. Well, that and like a bottle of whiskey and a lot of stupidity. But other than that, that's the serious part of it.
The problem with this, though, is a lot of the time his scratch vocal is the vocal we keep.
Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of the time he's
Mhm.
making up this shit as we're going. And I have to try not to bust out laughing and ruin it.
With a live mic, yeah.
And I'm sitting there just covering my mouth and stifling laughter as because there's a 30% chance that's it. That's the
That's
day.
the one we're gonna do, yeah.
It is very hard sometimes.
I think like famously the one we did that the most off the first album, Spreading the Charred Remains of Hope. There's a song on it called Taco Dip, The Things I Do for Love. And we originally, the idea for the song was this joke that like what would be the most goth depressing thing in the world, and it's that you go over to your terrible racist aunt's house for like Thanksgiving, and you don't want to listen to any of the crap she says, but she makes the best taco dip in the world. And so you have to like eat your own morals while you're chowing down on and listening to her crap, being like, "Uh-huh, Aunt Joyce. Yeah, okay." And that was originally going to be the idea for this song that we had. I don't know why it happened, but the light went red and something uncorked in me, and I did the best single vocal take of my life. And it just happened to be about the amount of fingers that were appropriate uh, in my bum. And it it got way out of control, way out of hand, and both the rest of the band is literally like biting their hand and arm to stop themselves from making noise as I finished. And just with a straight face, I did the whole thing, and everybody looked at me and they were like, "Oh my God, we have to do this as the song now, Ken, because that's the best I've ever heard you sing. Like you just unearthed something from your depths in that, and Jesus." And that first take is the one that is on the record.
So are there any like stray laughters that we could possibly hear that could
Probably.
leak into the
I
Yes.
feel like I had teeth print in my arm. I did. And I ended up hiding under the recording desk with a pillow over myself.
I think Ian did a spit take and it hit me.
Yeah.
So like at one point in the song, I like had to rear back because he like let and like spit water out at me by accident. So yeah, there you go. I don't know that we've really gotten into that story on an interview before. So there, you
Yep.
have the true story of taco
Yes.
dip now.
Now we know. So are you going to be doing this song actually?
You know, we
Oh, it is a nightmare to play live.
Is it?
it just weirdly had like key changes and all. But yeah,
Mm,
we will occasionally. But no, it's not on the docket for fixation. We do have a lot of new songs that we're gonna be playing for the first time there, and some other surprises. We have a very special cover for someone that we're going to play that night. But yeah, no, we probably won't bust out Taco Dip for that one. But if we play again, we should set a show for Amaranth and Alice, and we'll do Taco Dip for that one.
yay.
We have I make the guitars that we play, and
Wow.
so
Yeah.
um there's a problem of there's also like 32 guitars in the studio. Like when Ken was saying there's more guitars than there are
It was
places to
not an
sit.
exaggeration.
There's the guitouch. It used to be a couch, but now it's just a guitar stand. So
Wow.
Yeah.
you don't that's for guitars.
Yeah.
So again, when we start recording, a lot of time we're just grabbing random different guitars, and this is great. And we're trying to figure out how we can play some more of these songs live easily without bringing seven
Colin's
guitars.
weird 8-string guitar that he decided to use randomly on this one song, and
Yeah. So sometimes there are some songs that we're finding difficult to figure out how to play live without. Also, we're lazy. We don't want to bring anything more than we can fit with the
Yeah.
three of us in a car. That's it.
Yeah.
So more guitars and
We're
more
very
basses.
anti-amp.
Yeah. No.
We get snobby. We look down at like other bands carrying in like vintage, or we're like, oh, have fun carrying that amp, whatever. We don't use amps. Amps are for
Well,
sucker.
I actually that actually leads a question where I was wondering, yeah, like with it sounds like you with being able to be like really creative in the studio, like how do you guys decide what to do live and what is your approach with that?
Uh, they come up with ideas, and I tell them if I can figure out how to do it or not, easily or not. That's
Gotcha.
pretty much it. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean,
do we have a good plan, and do we have the equipment to make that so we can do
right.
that with bringing as minimal gear as possible?
But I mean, we do put a fair amount of thought, I think, into it and talk about it. You know, say we're playing with like, because we do have, because we're so weird, like we have a really wide range of styles to our music. Like everything that could possibly fall under the goth industrial umbrella, we have songs within that. And so if we're playing with somebody that's closer to like industrial metal or something harder, like we have a hard set we could play that has, you know, like some pretty intense, loud stuff. If we're playing with, I don't know, a ska band or something, we have very silly sets that is easy for us to put together, and also stuff in between, you know? So yeah, we do think about that, and we kind of try and match our set to what the show or the venue is.
I think that's brilliant. I mean, you know, for bands that I know have like kind of a diverse spectrum,
Yeah.
I think that's actually brilliant. And I mean, the fact that you can even go towards ska, that's amazing. Like, not many
Our
bands in the dark alternative scene, I think, can do that.
our current guitar player Damien was in a ska band for a long time,
Sure.
so
Yeah.
that has come up.
And I mean, that's just it. If you looked at like our influences, though, it's, you know, Dead Milkman meets Nine Inch Nails meets, you know, Sisters of Mercy or whatever. Like, but Weird Al, Dead Milkman, those are definitely in there. And so, you know, it's a part of who we are, and we very much just embrace that we're kind of ridiculous, and we own that.
I think that's awesome. I mean, it's again, it's a breath of fresh air. And I think it invites other people to be able to just drop their guard and be like, "Oh, you mean I too can be silly and just, you know, my whole rotten
Exactly.
self?"
And there's a lot of band, you know, we got to open a couple years back for Voltaire, for example, who was
Oh,
a big
yes.
deal to me. I mean, as
Hmm.
somebody who kind of invented comedy goth, you know? And getting to open for him and kind of do our silly thing along with that. And I felt the same way when I heard him, as somebody who coming out of high school was just, it all has to be just as sad as humanly possible. Like every day, just mascara streaking down my guilt-ridden face. And then hearing him and being able to be like, oh, this song is about killing my ex-lover's lovers. Brilliant. Like goth can be this too. It can be anything. And I think that's one of the big jokes, like in the Sounds and Shadows, always when people try and, what is goth? And I'm like, if I roll my eyes any harder, they'll fall out of my head because I don't know, goth is whatever I say it is. Like why do you care? Like none of us came firing into this world out of our mother's womb with an intricate knowledge of the Sisters of Mercy B-sides or something. Like we all came into this when we came into it, and that's okay. Like you don't get, I don't know, a pension or something for how many years you have in the scene. And a lot of times when people act like that, like, oh, well, because I saw this band before you were born, it must mean I'm so much cooler. And I mean, yeah, that's cool, man. That's rad. But I don't know. Like, that's not really what it's about. It's about trying to share with other people this thing that we're all into. And the idea that the macabre and the dark is something that we all relate to on a human level and find beauty in. And to me, we're a small enough scene as it is. We don't need to be pushing anybody else out because they happen to be born after 1965. Like that's just, I don't know. I worry sometimes about the goth scene that it's so focused on the past that it doesn't allow itself to grow. And that's what's been so exciting for me with Sounds and Shadows. And in the last 6 years, like I said, in particular, this kind of goth renaissance that I'm seeing young people fired, go into a Vision Video show. And I am by 20 years the oldest mofo there. And like these kids are just fired up, like looking at Dusty jumping up and down, dancing. And I'm like, this was me 30 years ago, and they are that excited. And I feel like they're going to carry this on for us for another 20 years. And that's what fills me with hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, speaking of Sounds and Shadows, like what was your inspiration in starting it? It's such a beautiful community, truly, so inviting and so I
Yeah.
feel welcoming to, for people. So,
So it started
so
out, um,
It was a love letter to Twin Tribes.
it was. That was what it
Oh,
originally, what Sounds Joe started as. I got, like I said, I went through this period where I kind of just gave up on there being new music I would like, you know? And all of a sudden I started finding Twin Tribes after some of these bands, and I got rip roaring wasted one night and just went, you know what? These Twin Tribes, people need to know about this. And if I don't tell them, who will? So I got on Facebook and typed like I don't know, like 12 paragraph love letter to the album Shadows by Twin Tribes and just posted on Facebook and woke up and kind of went, oh, did that happen last night? Weird. And I woke up and Twin Tribes had found it and shared it, and other people were commenting, and people were really into it. And so I did a few more and a few more. And eventually it got to the point where I got a website to do it because the reviews were, I don't know, having that kind of popular. And it was a big deal to me. I love doing it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not the only one. Like other people are fired up about this now. And how the group came about was just I had started doing the interviews then a little bit and doing the reviews, but Facebook, the algorithm isn't great for that, sharing things that to a website or something. But the loophole of that was that if you had a group and people kind of signed up for, hey, I want to see things shared by this group, then it would kind of override the algorithm. So really, I just started out doing it as a way that people would see my reviews and interviews when I shared them. But then it's me, as you might have noticed, I get a little verbose at times. And so I started wanting to get conversations going. And I would post a question or you know has anyone ever thought about this, what are your thoughts, and kind of reminded me of the old bulletin board systems that I used to do, like in high school, that I guess were kind of the precursor to Facebook, which was these sites you'd go to and yeah, you could share ideas or topics or questions. And because we had bands that I worked with and that I'd reviewed were some pretty big name bands were there, people would post questions then, and you never know who was going to answer it. I mean, it could be like Rodney Orpheus, from Cassandra Complex or something, gives you production advice, and people are like, wait, is that real? Did that just happen? So the group started kind of taking off from that and got a life of its own. And right from the get-go, I just wanted it to be nice. Like the internet is so full of just people trying to be cool or one up or have a hot take. And I was so sick of it. So I just wanted to build a place where if you say anything even remotely shitty to someone else, I just block you and just boot you out. And it turns out that's what everybody wanted. And so the group just grew and grew. I think I made a joke today that I think we're around like 8,000 people in it, and that I still, to this day, treat every person who tries to join Sounds and Shadows like I'm the door guy at Berdine in Berlin, which is like this club that's like notoriously like the hardest club to get into. But I am that, scrutiny on your answer to the four questions that I'm amazed we have this many people in the group, because I probably block 10 for every one I let in. Because most of them are bots and stuff, and I don't need that, or selling something. So, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really amazing to see how, the seed of something grows into what it is. Because
Yeah.
like you were saying, I think the community as it is, you do see like people will have like really like questions about production, like you were saying, or questions about like, oh, how do I find a show in this region? And it seems
Yeah.
like people are truly kind.
I
So
think that's the
yeah.
big part of it, is people feel okay to ask that stuff because you're not going to get like 10 edgelords taking a shit on them for asking a legitimate question, but they just don't have that much experience in yet. Maybe they're just starting out or something like that. And yeah, like I've pretty much sorted out all those edgelords by now. There are every once in a while someone will, but it is, I'm very quick on the take of it, and I just don't even wait a moment. I'm like, wow, you sound crappy. Bye. Like that. And life can be that way when you're online. Like
Yeah.
you can just build that kind of a world, and word gets around, and now people just know not to do it.
And I think like it's a community where the energy Ken had with this was so much like, I want to see your cool stuff. Show me. I love all your cool art. I love all your cool music. Show me what you're doing. Like I'm really want to hear it. I really want to see it. And I feel like that at the core has just been something that has continued, of everybody is just show me what you're doing. Like I want to hear your new stuff. It's not just like I'm advertising it. Like other people are saying, what are you working on? Please show me what you're doing.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the other side of that too is like musicians are, we love what we do. We love all the elements of that. And so there's gear forums where you
Yeah.
have people just hanging out in their basement that hate everybody else that's actually doing something. And then you have something like this where you have actual musicians and actual artists that are, you ask a question like, I love this stuff. I want to share it. There's somebody else that wants to hear
Yeah.
me talk about synthesizers. Yes. I I couldn't be happier that somebody cares about a low pass filter. So
Yeah.
it's such a good community for that because again, it's all kind of nerdy.
I think that was like especially in the beginning on Sounds and Shadows for the group in particular that it worked because I was that excited. That's just it. Like those early reviews and everything, they were truly love letters. And I think when it comes to music reviews, that's what people actually want. They don't, I have never written a negative review. And like it's kind of this thing because there is so much new music now. I always feel like there is a freaking tidal wave coming over me at all times where I can't even. So I don't have time. Like I have to listen 5 times to a record before I'll review it or something to feel good that I got the gist of it. And I can't imagine listening to something 5 times I didn't like just to shit on it. Like that is a level of negativity that I don't know, maybe somebody possesses, but I sure don't. And so I just like writing about the stuff I love. And I think that's what people want anyway, because people aren't going to you to find out what not to buy. People are coming to my music reviews because they can tell, good God, he is almost too excited about this. You have a very goth Saint Bernard energy that's kind of freaking me out, bro. And but at least, you know what? I guess I should probably listen to this record because if you are this fired up about it, it must have some redeemable value. And I think that's why my reviews have, yeah, like led a lot of people to the scene and the music that we do. So
Well, you're getting some love in the chat. I just wanted to share. Pete Russo is saying that he's been there less than 5 minutes, and this gentleman is speaking to my soul. I love that so much, Pete. Dusty Chalk says, "So say we all." Also saying, "Here,
Battlestar
gatekeeping is the
reference.
worst." Yes, yes, I love it. Yeah, no, I mean it's I think it's really beautiful that your approach to your own music, which is with real like, enthusiasm and joy has been like that energy has been brought into the community as well. And it really inspires, I think, other people also to share that joy where they're like, "Oh, I too am excited about this thing," and we can like chat about that.
Yeah. And I get to watch all the time. That's the other thing that's beautiful in kind of the Sounds and Shadows family is just me watching how many collaborations have come of it, where I know that like I watched a topic or something that was there and two people met and started talking about this. And then weeks later, I find out that they did a guest vocal on this person's album or, stuff like, the burying kind with, you know, Dan and, Scott and just people that I respected both their bands and liked them, where they found each other through this and then made something else as a result of it. And I get to, I don't know, feel a little piece of that myself, you
little
know?
little little Magger Yenta.
Yeah, yeah. Like that's I always joke when I like because I'll do that a lot. I'll be talking to someone and I'll be like, hold on, you know who would be able to help you with this? Give me 1 second. I'm gonna create a chat. And I'll put both down there and I'll say, hey, this person, this is this person, they're into this and blah blah this, and you could help them because of this, this, and this. Goth Yenta. And then I'll just leave the chat. And like that's like my favorite thing in the world.
I love it. Well, that actually makes me like wonder in terms of I guess the fact that you're constantly exposed to new music and new artists, like has that changed the way that y'all listen and create yourselves?
Yeah. I mean, I've always stolen liberally. Like but now I find myself doing it from brilliant new artists and taking their vibe too. And no, like I think that's great. And I would say, yeah, my perspective has changed and expanded. And I found stuff that was a synthesis that someone else did that I didn't even know existed, like Witch House or something. And find myself wanting it or we talked about Electronic Saviors coming up. We have a song on it with Dog Tablet, and the legendary Martin King of Test Department brought us in to help on the track, and we ended up making, uh, industrial outlaw country. And I don't know how that would have happened otherwise, but it was, I was kind of inspired by a couple other yeehaw goth artists that we saw recently. And so
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Which I didn't even know. I wouldn't know existed without this.
that's a thing.
So
That's a thing. You'll probably meet Croon, one of my favorite yeehaw goth artists. I'm sure that he'll be there at Fixation. So that's a great Detroit band to check out.
Ooh, I'm excited.
oh, they're so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, they do like yeehaw goth in assless chaps with a theremin, and you haven't lived until you witnessed
You
it.
don't even know. You don't
Yeah.
even know. It's you needed
Oh my
it.
gosh. Yeah. This is amazing. I love the music that you're sharing that actually it's coming out of Michigan. Like you're like I feel like I'm learning already. Like this is exciting. Are you gonna be able to stay for the whole festival, or are you just
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
be
we'll
there
be
for the
yeah, I'll be there Friday too.
Yeah.
And there's again, because of Sounds and Shadows, these bands become friends, and I talk, and but some of them will talk for years online before they come through town or whatever. I'll meet them in person. So yeah, there's definitely some people that night that I'm really excited. Um, like the band night from Texas is coming through there on
Hmm.
Friday. So
Yeah.
we're really excited for that. And I've interviewed the Twins before, but I've never met them in person. So I'm excited to see them play live and meet them in person.
Yeah, we've played with Night in Texas, and
Yeah.
they're just wonderful, amazing. It'll be a treat. So yeah, super talented. I noticed Colin, you were wearing a Bellhead shirt, and we love those guys. We've
They're
played with them
great.
as well, so I can't wait. It's gonna be a really special night, I think.
Yeah. Karen and Ivid are, just good friends and have been wonderful and, people we've hung out with a lot. And just in general, especially Karen kind of, has become like my goth mom for the scene and I'll check in on me, make sure that I'm drinking enough water, stuff like that. Like she's
I love
so
it. Yeah, yeah. We played with them in Madison and also in Chicago. So
nice. Yeah.
Well, and as a
um,
bass player, two
Two
basses
bassists.
is
Yeah.
yes,
better than one bass.
yes,
So
yes. I know. It's pretty amazing. Oh, and uh, Amia is saying nothing but facts and much love. Sending much love back to y'all. Pete was saying steal from one source and it's thievery, steal from many and it's inspired.
Exactly. And I mean, I think there's a difference too between, I don't know, stealing a bass line straight up from another band, which is not cool, or having a tonal inspiration or tip of the hat. Like on the new single for Cat. Depeche Mode was her favorite band. I mean, that, she had the tattoo. A lot of people afterwards in the Detroit scene got the same tattoo, to kind of honor her there. And so when we did the song, we threw in the word Black Celebration to it as just an homage to both her and Depeche Mode at the same time. It's not like we, took that as part of the lyrics or based around it, but a tip of the hat is, I think, a cool thing to do from artist to artist.
Yeah, absolutely. I could definitely hear the Depeche Mode influence in the production and the lyrics as well. I was like, oh, Black Celebration. Now I can put those dots together. So yeah, huge Depeche Mode fan here. So I love that. Speaking of influences, okay. Current influences, like, are there any particular like artists that are like you're like, this is amazing?
That is a tough question for me because yes, 500 of them. As somebody who kind of runs the music review page for all this stuff, good God, we could talk the next 4 hours of me just going through all the bands. But yeah, there's some big top ones in there. I know I briefly mentioned Vision Video and Dusty, but to me, getting to know him, like hang out with him and see him play shows and watch the way he inspires young people towards this scene is just incredible to me. And aside from that, the fact that he does that, he took something that was a joke or a gimmick of this goth dad character, used that on TikTok to lure people over to hearing his band. But here's the thing, it doesn't do you any good unless your band is amazing. You know what I mean? Like you could get people to like listen for 5 seconds, but unless Vision Video is as good as Vision Video, it doesn't do him any good or go anywhere. So then he gets him there, and on top of that, he is like the most hardcore leftist, you know, politic person with this punk rock ethos and says it openly at all of his shows and makes it about that. And then I watch these 20-year-old kids ready to like grab scythes and pitchforks and follow Dusty up the hill because they're that inspired by it. And I'm like, Joe Strummer, get back. Like, damn, son. And I just love the effect that he has on that. So I think I hear stuff like that, or obviously Joel and Luis and Twin Tribes have been a huge one. Actors, Jason and the rest of actors have meant a lot to us in that. Ego Likeness, you know, Donna and Steven. There's a ton of these bands, Bellwether Syndicate, that are big inspirations to me, but also have turned into friends, you know, and it's so weird to have that too. Like the logo behind us for Sounds and Shadows and the Amaranth one was done by Jim Marcus. And I mean, when I was 15, one of the first industrial shows I got to go see was, you know, Jim along with Switchblade, Sister Machine Gun, but getting to see Die Warsaw. And years later, I was reviewing a single kind of when Sounds and Shadows was starting out, one of the early ones for this band called Go Fight. And I didn't know this. And I was just like, hey, a guy that does this, would you be willing to do an interview? And it turns out I then am doing research for that interview for the podcast. And I look it up and I'm like, oh, this band is Jim. Wait, that Jim Market? And I'm like, oh my God, I've been talking to him like an idiot this entire time, and it's freaking Jim Marcus. And we hit it off. We talked a lot. And I came time for Sounds and Shadows where I had my own webpage and it was starting to really blow up. And I was just like, hey, do I know anybody in the group right now that does like graphic design and logos? Because I need to get one. And Jim reached out and he was like, yeah, I do that. I'm like, yeah, I know you do, Jim, but I cannot afford you. I was just like, you do logos for like international companies and stuff. Like, that is not a part of my budget. And he goes, Ken, we're friends. Like, I'll take care of it. We'll work it out. And I just stopped from him. I'm like, Jim Marcus and me are friends. Oh,
Oh,
okay.
oh.
And like, I've had a lot of moments like that. So it's both the bands and the music are inspirational to me in a lot of ways on that because I genuinely love this shit. But at the same time, also, I've been inspired by awesome people that like care about lifting up others in the scene, and that's become a big part of the tapestry of Sounds and Shadows. It's also a funny story. I'm gonna self-own myself here.
Are you going to talk about the story about the logo when
Yeah.
you were telling? Oh God, that's what I was hoping.
So as you can see behind me, this beautiful logo that Jim put together, and especially like I said, where he came up with this idea of this community, and the idea of it is so built on like looking out for each other, and so intertwining them and putting the plus symbol in like he did and everything. But at first he was like, so what do you have in mind, Ken? I'm like, I don't know, just something simple, man, like sounds and shadows with like, goth, so like maybe like a black and red or something. Look, and he goes, uh-huh. And what you're describing to me sounds an awful lot like Nazi shit. I was like, and Jim is the most like hard left, liberal guy. And I was just like, Oh.
No,
He goes,
no.
this is why you hire a graphic designer, Ken. I'm going to fix that problem.
Oh.
And so if it wouldn't have been for Jim, I would have probably got canceled before we even got off like the first two reviews. So
Unintentionally with just bad graphic
yeah, just
design
just that I
intentions.
have no visual eye. That's he saved me on that one. He took a bullet for me there.
Good
That
job,
was
Jim.
good looking out, Jim.
Oh man, thank goodness for our friends, right? Especially the ones that can do the things that we can't do, like we were talking about
Yes.
earlier. It helps to have like people that have their own items in their picnic baskets and they're like, "Oh, I have this in my picnic basket." So, yes.
I think I know musically too though, there's so many of I think our friends are a huge inspiration, but I think it's also funny just because the inspirations that we have are oftentimes so just all over the board
Yeah.
and depends on the week. Depends on what band we just saw and what I
Mm.
because I like I like a lot of like High Lung and Ivor and that
Oh
kind of
yeah.
stuff and
Hmm.
I'm going to see Spirit Box in a couple weeks, and so like I'm going to be playing some 8 string heavy riffs for weeks on end after that, pumped up, and that might creep in, and so the musical influences are pretty broad, and I think that again that does come in, but at the same time it's our the general umbrella of the main things that we love, and also like what you create is not necessarily what you listen to. Um, though what we create is often what we listen to um, for us. But yeah,
But I mean, and I think too, like there is difference in Colin and I say, like I said, I mean, he'll do a lot more in terms of metal. And I would say that Colin leans more towards the prog and complexity, whereas me, I'm more leaning towards bands that are about lyrics and melody and things like that. And so when we get together to write, I think that's a part of it too, where we push and pull each other towards the middle and come up with something that isn't just four chords in a dream with a really good, clever poem over it, or 27 key changes and 14 different overlapping guitar riffs where we both give a bit and then come into something that is a little bit complex, but also a solid enough, simple core that people can latch onto it.
he only lets me get one key change per song.
Max.
Oh. Actually, Colin, I wanted to ask, do you get inspiration for uh, like the next guitar you'll build? Like, I was curious if you have any ideas for
Go
future
ahead, Colin.
guitars.
Grab
That
it. I made
I
sure
don't.
he brought
It
one
might
just in
not work.
case.
I don't know if
Oh,
it will work
Oh,
because
here,
of
Probably have
things.
to move off so that you
oh
can
my
move to the side.
Oh,
gosh.
it's not. Oh, we got a
Oh,
little
there
bit
it
of
is.
it.
Yeah.
We got a
Oh
little
my
bit of it.
gosh.
Silly filters.
But to be clear, like
Oh,
Colin, just gets a block of freaking wood. We're not talking about he like puts a kit together. He
yeah.
carves like the wood from scratch, does all of this, all of the inlays, puts, the parts together. I mean, this is a labor of love every time he does one of these, and they're all pretty amazing. And a lot of bands in the scene now have started to show up with Collin Schipper guitars, like Witch Hands, Kentucky Vampire, stuff like that, where we'll see Collin's guitars out in live videos of bands playing and everything. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Oh.
Inspiration. So this is where the stupid. I love process. I love process in all things. I like obsessive, ridiculous processes that don't need to make sense. Um, things that are gratuitously difficult for no good reason. Um, and yeah, I think there's that. I love materials. I love the things we work with. Like paint is paint, and I like when paintings look like they're made of paint and it's thick and it's viscous and it has you want to lick it because it has just flavor. And I
Colin had a bit of a Tide problem there. The forbidden paint.
Yeah, so it's stupid. I know it's stupid and I know it's ridiculous, but I also like I do. I get I'll see a beautiful piece of wood and I think, wow, that's a beautiful piece of wood. And and yeah, it's got shapes in it. It's got the way the grain goes, and so there's you have limitations. And again, I think that's an important thing. I love placing rules and limitations on things, and that's one of the reasons I got into making this is I like those constructs that we can put on things. And so within this form, I have to, there's elements I have to use, elements I have to stick with in order to make it work, and then trying to find out what the materials want to be within that, which is that hyper romantic idea of
You have to
things.
listen to the wood.
Yeah. And sometimes you just slip and now you have a new shape because your bandsaw went too far. So we're going to be creative because it's an expensive piece of wood.
But everybody should definitely go on Instagram and look up because it has all in there where you could see the Pikachu guitar, the unicorn death metal guitar, the Amaranth guitar, and my personal favorite that I like to steal and play at shows, the viola guitar. That is this
Wow.
beautiful hollow body that looks like a violin or a viola.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So, is it what is the Instagram handle to see all of your guitar work?
Just Collin Schipper, COLLINSCHIPPER.
Awesome. I am
Yeah.
But it's
looking
a
forward to going
arch
to that.
guys like the that's not the Instagram one, but
No,
that's the
the branding is Archdiocese Guitars. I'm terrible about all things social media. I wouldn't exist on there if Ken didn't tag me and do things. So
if you want to get like one of the coolest guitars you possibly could in any style you could imagine, yeah, reach out to me and I'll make Colin respond to you. That's
and I will take my sweet time because I only do it when I want to do it and when it feels right and when I love doing it. So I'm very slow because I want them all, everything. I only work on them when I feel passionate about it. So I want it to be not because I have to, but it's something I get to put something into. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I am a huge fan of woodwork. I love, like you were saying, I myself don't do woodwork, but I really admire and love the craft of it. I was curious, like how you choose. Is there a particular wood that you prefer to work with, or are you kind of like,
he does it different like every other time.
okay, yeah,
it
He he gets bored of wood. I mean, let me tell you, that guy goes through a lot of wood. Like he'll try it one time, then he's got to touch another piece of wood. Then, he touches that one twice, and all of a sudden he's like, I'm bored of this wood. I want to touch some other wood. And it's just non-stopping hands on wood, basically.
just gotta polish those knobs until
Yeah,
they're nice and shiny. That's all I really care, and then you
yeah,
move on to the next. That's
exactly.
how it works.
There's always another piece of wood to be polished. Yep.
Well, I'm excited to see your work. That's really amazing. It's
How
some
do
it's
people deal with us? I do
us
not know.
with love, with lots of love.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I think it's absolutely wonderful to see that you both are multidimensional artists and that find true joy in whatever you do, whether it's the community or the craft or the music itself. I think that's really beautiful and very inspiring.
God knows it's not like David Geffen is calling us to send a private jet. So it's important that it's fun because why else would you do this, in 2025?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's something I was talking about this with Mark Paradise last week that I
Love
really
Mark.
feel like we love Mark.
Yeah,
Love
I've
Mark.
interviewed him before too. Great, just super cool dude.
Yeah, just I feel like in music it really is a labor of love.
Yeah.
So we are here because we love it and we love the community. So, yeah.
I think people forget that sometimes too, that, they see artists trying to put themselves out there and trying to do this. And I don't know, we'll get turned off thinking that it comes across as a little too thirsty, or you're always sending me about your project or your, but I, you have to love the thing you're doing, or else how can you expect anybody else to? And I think people should talk about their art that excited, because that's what makes other people want to be invested in, is because you genuinely care, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Would you say that be like a good piece of advice and wisdom for somebody just starting out, just to find the joy?
I I think that's imperative, that you have to. I think the other thing I say to people all the time is just this: when, because it is frustrating, right? With 10,000 bands out there right now, to get any kind of notice, right? Is the best thing that ever happened in terms of people knowing about our band was me writing about other bands. Like,
Hmm.
honestly, like, and so that's the thing I'd say to people is start celebrating other bands in the scene, because it's going to come back around to you. And I try and tell people when they join kind of Sounds and Shadows and sharing maybe about their project at first, I always say, make sure that you're going through, listening to other people's things, commenting on them, comment a bit on the, I don't know, music that you enjoy that you hear there, because this hasn't actually changed since the era of social media. Social media can get you fans in a very basic level if you already have a base. That has to come from in real life. And it doesn't necessarily have to mean that, it's people in your local town. It could be people you're just talking to online, like I do, but you have to actually know them. You have to actually talk to them about, treat them like people, and then talk excitedly about your thing, and they'll be genuinely interested to try it because you've talked to them about their thing too and been involved with them. Once you have a core of people that do that and are willing to kind of do what I just did a second ago and be like, dude, if you want to know about Yeehaw Goth in Detroit, it's the band Croon. Crune. You have to check it out. You start doing that a bit and have people hearing you do that, and you showing up to shows, not just put up a Facebook flyer. Okay, you need to go to shows and be seen and be there. Okay, now people are ready to invest in you. And once you have a core of people who have done that, it will start to just get the ball rolling, and just doing stuff online can help you at that point. But unless you start with step one and step two, you are never going to get to three or four. And on top of that, I tell people a lot in the group, record labels, where they think they're on step one and they're like, oh, I need to sign with a record label. In 2025, you don't, because a record label is great to get you from five to six, seven, or eight, but you have to get yourself one to five before a record label A can do you any good, and definitely until you can do them any good. And nobody's going to want to do that for you unless you have a value to them in that sense. And I think that's one of the things that, I don't know, for some reason it doesn't get taught or doesn't occur anymore, and people expect it to happen in reverse the other way, where they think just sharing on social media is going to have them blow up as an artist, when it isn't. Like, if you look at the bands that are truly successful in our scene, like we've talked about, like your Twin Tribes, your Actors, your Vision Video, they tour non-stop. You want to talk about people that are working hard out there, because it is not easy to live your life in a freaking van for 6 months out of the year. And that's what they do, and that's what it takes. And most people do not want to do that. I sure as hell don't. Like, if you offered me the same amount of money I make at my straight job to, like, get in a van and smell Colin's farts and drive around the country and not see my cats or Rachel, like, hard pass. Like, okay, there is a dollar amount that puts me in that van, but it is not where I'm at right now, and not one that anybody is willing to give me, you know? And I think that's, I don't know, like rethinking what it means to be a working musician these days.
Yeah.
Because almost all of us do have day jobs now. I know
Yeah.
very few musicians that just that's all they do.
Yeah. I think yeah, like you said, you need to love what you're doing and do it because you love doing it.
Yeah.
You need to love the scene and love the people in it, because if you don't, and if you're shitting on them because you think that your stuff is better than them,
We all know that local band guy
yeah,
sitting in the back of the show talking shit. Like
you're not going to buy anybody's
nobody
love
likes
with
that
that.
guy. Nobody likes that guy.
You're not going to get anywhere. I think, I and if you're really socially awkward, get yourself a Mager Bear, and because
And if you don't know how to set your own guitar effects processor, it goes both ways.
yeah. uh, I mean, it's a community. I think that's part of it, is realizing that you're part of the community and being part of that. It's the same thing, in art shows. Like, you could be the best painter in the world of whatever genre of painting, but if you don't go out and talk to people
Schmooze.
and be present and be at those shows, no one is going to want you to be in those shows with them, because nobody's going to know you exist. Like, you have to put yourself out there, and that's scary and terrifying and hard and difficult. But if you love what you're doing, just like relax, and other people are scared too, and realizing that they're all in that same boat, or at least at some point you are. We've all been there. So just going out there and trying and enjoying it, enjoying the scene you're in, enjoy being part of that is so important, and you're not going to get anywhere without that.
I think that's another thing in goth industrial that honestly has always surprised me since I've kind of gotten to this side of it, where I know this many people that far above us, people just starting out, kind of the entire spectrum of it, is that most of the good ones really appreciate that this scene just isn't that large and they're just down to earth, cool people. I've met, I'm not going to say none, but very few uh artists that I was really into like this that I ended up meeting them where they ended up just being douches. Like it honestly, most of them are just really cool, humble people. And that's the reason that they're successful, is because they have a sense of perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I myself am really, really shy. I'm a super introvert, but I love going to shows, and I find the same thing. Like, at the very least, when I go to the merch table, I find that it's very inviting. It's very welcoming. Like, I always feel like, oh, other nerds that I can talk to. This is great.
I think that's one of the
Yeah.
beautiful things about it, is like that realization. It's so easy to get starstruck, and there's so many pretty and beautiful people that you just say, "Oh, you're too pretty to talk to," like with everybody when you go out to these shows. And I think they don't think they're better than you. They're also introverts. Like,
Yeah.
almost all of us are introverts there. So just, yeah, not being afraid to compliment somebody on their awesome boots and start a conversation, or talk about their band. Like, they want to talk about their band.
Yeah.
They're so ready to talk about their band. Please talk about their band. So,
I
yeah.
I think that's another thing that surprised me in the early days of Sounds and Shadows too, is I had a few people that were like, I wrote a review of them, of an album I loved, and they reached back out to me. I didn't know them, but I wrote the review and they reached back out to me after reading it and were like, Ken, this is like a pretty big name artist. I don't really want to, say the name, but a pretty big name one. And they reached out and they were like, Ken, like, honestly, I was reaching a bit the end of my rope of why do I still do this? And should I even still? And I read your review and I felt like here's somebody who really got it, who understood why I wrote this record and what it was about. And like I started like bawling pretty much. I type into this person, but I'm like, really? Okay, man, cool. Because I love your record. And, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is while people are still alive, tell them that you appreciate their art and appreciate that they do it. Because you'd be surprised people way up the chain that still need to hear that. And it still matters, especially when it's genuine and it comes from the heart. So go out and write reviews, even if it's just on Facebook, or if you want to write for me, reach out. I always need people. I have more stuff than I could ever write about, and I could always use more. But tell people, send a love letter to a band because they need it more than you know. And they won't laugh at you or think you're dumb for doing it. Honestly, they need that and appreciate it. And I am amazed by the level of people that have reached back out to me and said what one of my reviews meant to them. Somebody who I wouldn't even think they knew I existed. I shockingly have run into it very little where I get starstruck just because I don't stop to think very often. So it kind of helps me from, worrying about how absurd I seem in this situation, like the stabbing westward thing. But it doesn't happen much. Like,
Other than Paul Barker, where he
okay,
says,
okay, that was one.
you play bass good.
You play bass well.
And then he came back an hour later because he was going to fix this. And he said, bass good, and then left.
Yeah. That was one. Okay. But that was Paul Barker. I think the other one maybe was like Chris Connolly. But like other than those two, I feel like I've managed to be pretty chill during any interviews that I've done.
I mean, there's definitely the understandable ones.
Yeah.
I could understand.
I was
Yes.
pretty buzzed for that one too, and it just like it was at in Chicago at Cold Waves, and we're at the after party, and Matt Finale is like spinning down there, and it's just you can't even breathe, just human to human, like shoulder to shoulder, moving through this basement, and I come through a cloud of smoke, and there's Paul Bark, and I'm like, you're a you are Paul, but and he goes, yes I am. You you play bass. I do. You play bass well. So well. So well. And he was like, thank you. And just like kept walking. But yeah. All right, I flubbed that one, but the rest of them I was doing great.
You probably put a smile on his face.
Yeah, he did smile. I don't know if it was with me or at me, but he did smile.
Yep.
I mean, if you can bring joy in some form or fashion.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah, I definitely have my share of fangirly moments, so I understand. Well, you lose your tongue. Just
I mean,
words don't really come
fangirl
out.
a lot. I just do it eloquently still. But I mean, I'm still very much like, hi, I like you.
Do you know who you are?
Do you have any idea?
You're so great.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I definitely have my share. I don't know. Collin, is there anybody that you could meet that could perhaps
I'm pretty dumb. I don't. I mean, I have many moments where I can't talk to people, but that's just because I have many moments where I can't talk to people. It has nothing to do with their star level. I'm pretty good on that. I think I've been pretty good since when I was 16. The band I was in was opening for Kitty, and they were the same age as me. And I met them, and I don't know why. It was one of the first shows I got to play where I was opening for a bigger band, and I met them, and all that came out of my mouth was, "Hi." I couldn't do
Aw.
anything. I just, "Hi." Yeah, my limbs didn't work anymore. Just
You don't
hi.
actually have to be famous to do that to Colin, though. Like,
Yeah, it depends. There's just sometimes I just fall apart. But it's not because you're famous. I just
Yeah.
don't work all the times.
That's
But
okay. I think
We've
that's true
been,
for all of us.
but we've been pretty good. And when I haven't been as active, but in all the interviews and when meeting people, we're all people. So
Yeah.
it hasn't bothered me too much. And like I said, everybody I talk to is just excited to talk about what they do. So
Just like this, actually, we so recently, we did a show last year in Lansing, Michigan. Very cool for like a goth festival type thing that they did there. And they asked us to come play. We had a great time, played a good show. They had a lot of like drag queen and king performers there that we played with, and us and another band. And it was a blast. We had a good time. And part of that, the sound engineer, who's one of the promoters for the show, came up to Collin afterwards and wanted to talk all about his guitars that he had made and like, what we were using in terms of equipment. And they talked all night. So they had a rapport. Well, this year we're going to play another show there coming up here at the end of May. And but instead of reaching out to me, he felt so comfortable because reached out to Collin, and Collin like came to me like deer in headlights. Ken, there's someone trying to contact me about a gig. Why are they doing this? Have they talked to you already? No, they haven't. You guys talked. You had a connection there. They want to talk. Um, okay. So what do I say to him now? Well, do you want to do the show? Yes, we'll do the show. Oh, well then that's what you should say to him. And you know what? I'll take it from here. It's fine. But yeah, it was funny. He was just like, why would he try and talk to me?
I
Because he
mean,
liked you, Colin.
yes. I mean, imagine that whether you realize it or not, you are inspiring to other people. I think this goes across the board, you know? Like I
Plus,
think
he's a
that
razor hottie. So, I
yeah.
mean, he doesn't get that either. Aw.
I think when it comes down to it, you really do, it's like inspiration is infectious. And
Yeah.
in listening to you talk about, both of your processes and such, I feel like other people probably are like, well, how do I become, inspired in my process? Like how do I find that,
play,
Yeah.
play.
I mean, what inspires us? Probably our most popular song was inspired by the movie Miami Connection from the 80s about ninjas in a band who do spin kicks. And that's what inspired Miami Nights and Ninja. We just watched it the night before, were very hungover, and decided to make it into a song.
Yep. Capture the mood.
Yes. So you mentioned, did you say an EP that's coming up or a full
Yep.
length?
We just put out the stuff we have coming up is we have on Electronic Saviors, the song with Dog Tablet,
Mhm.
the industrial outlaw country. And that's on disc 2 of Electronic Saviors for this year. And then we have the single we just put out for Cat. And then the next big thing that we're going to be putting out will be the EP, which I think is going to be 5 songs that, like I said, are all based on Dungeons and Dragons characters that Damien and I have run in game that we then turned into a song, like a necromancer who wants to raise up the dead to throw a rave. We have one about a paladin who cannot achieve arousal unless he's wearing his armor. So he just gave up and gave himself to the church because he figured, well, this won't do me any good anyway. So I guess I'll just be hard in my armor. And we have a plethora of these like ideas that we've spun through, and we're trying to get in on that sweet, sweet con money. We're gonna start like, hitting up like Gen Con and stuff. Like, hey, do you like goth bands that play D&D songs? Because
Love it.
That was probably going to be a while. We did just put out an album not
Yeah,
that long ago.
Gothimism.
Yeah, got
So that
Yeah.
was, yeah, like, what, 2 years ago or a
Did
year
we-
ago? It was only a year
it's
ago.
not even a year ago.
Wow. So yeah, we did just put out a full-length album, Gothimism.
We're just terrible about promoting these
Yeah,
things.
but it's all about kind of everything that we just talked about. That idea that, yes, the world is depressing as hell, but with a little help from our friends, we can somehow bear it and get through it. And like the title track from that, Gotham,ist, we had, I mean, Jason Corbett from Actors did a guitar solo. We had, I think, 7 different vocalists that from the scene that added in. And we really wanted to have that feel of all of our friends are what helped us put this together. So,
Dan Milligan from Joy
yeah,
Thieves,
Dan Milligan,
such a joy, did all kinds of different stuff.
Drum Daddy.
Drum Daddy. Yep.
Much love, Drum Daddy.
I love it. So it can be found on all the streamings and
Yeah, Bandcamp,
Bandcamp.
Spotify, all that jazz.
Yep.
We're on Spotify. I mean, I've never really opened it, but we're on it.
Yeah, I'm told. I hear it's
Yes.
hard to find.
Yeah.
But yeah, YouTube Music, whatever. It doesn't matter. All the streaming things, but we prefer Bandcamp
Yeah.
Yes.
for
Yes.
I
Because
think
they
all
actually,
artists do.
you know, yeah, pay the artist. I know it's a novel concept.
Yes. We like the monies, please.
Yeah.
It does help support the arts.
It does.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Well, I saw that you're also, besides Fixation Festival, you're playing in August as well. So you have another show after
Yep.
that.
Well, we got that show my birthday week in August, and that's in Ypsilanti, Michigan. And then before that, but after Fixation, we're playing, God, 2 shows. Pardon me. Oh,
Bless you.
goodness.
Such a cute little dainty sneeze.
Oops. We're playing in Grand Rapids one night at church, which is like the goth night there that's run by our friend Ash. And then on the next shoot, dang it.
The
Bless you.
24th.
The 24th of May, we are can't believe that just happened. That's funny. We are playing over at that same Lansing Goth Festival again, where they're going to have different like drag artists.
I
Bless
really,
you.
really want to make, because we are not a touring band. So I thought it would be hilarious to do a tour shirt. So the Amaranth Tour 2025.
Which is
And it's just the 23rd Grand Rapids, 24th Lansing,
boom.
26th my couch,
Bless you.
and we just call it the I could have gone home at night tour.
Yeah. But no, yeah, so we have those shows coming up and then the one in August. So yeah, lots of exciting.
Bless
Dang it.
you. Oh my goodness.
Blow up.
I know, I'm having troubles. This is the problem with a live interview. This is why I don't do it, in case I have a sneezing fit.
Oh no. Thank you so much for doing this with us and braving the sneezing fits.
Yeah.
Charles Goupel is asking if Collin sells his guitars, and if so, how can someone view and buy one? Would that be on your Instagram? That be the best way to get for them to get a hold of you if you do sell them?
Or just to get a hold of me and have
Or get a hold
me
of him.
yell at Collin that
Yes.
someone wants to buy a guitar.
So there's some everything is for sale. But I like doing customs for people. I like doing something they want. I like having a conversation with them. It's difficult when people are farther away because I want to make sure, you know, they're handmade things and expectations and all those things. So like I said, it's a conversation. Getting a hold of Ken to get a hold of me, and then like I said, I do also like to frame people's expectations. I'm slow. I make maybe 8 to 10 a year.
But I
So-
mean, you're going to get a piece of art measured to your hand, designed exactly for you, sounding just what you want it to. You know, that's the benefit. But yeah, it's going to take a minute, you know?
Yeah. I think that's amazing though.
You go
Yes,
on
I-
Instagram later, like you got to see them. Like it'll blow your
Yeah.
mind. They are so cool, all of them.
Yeah. Scott, if you wouldn't mind to drop all the links in the chat so that way people can see where we can follow our friends. Um, yes, and support all things Collin and Ken because there's many things to follow actually. There's
Yeah.
Amaranth, there's Sounds and Shadows, there's your beautiful guitar work. Multi-tiered things to follow, and I love that you are, like I said, multi-dimensional artists and creatives.
And also
Uh,
along with Sounds and Shadows on it, yeah, there's the review page and the written stuff,
mhm.
but much like this one, I do, and I love that you like actually have like hour-long interviews like this. We do on the Sounds and Shadows YouTube page, hour-long interviews with bands, producers,
DJs.
DJs, goth wrestlers. I like to try and talk about all different parts of the scene, but and also everything from young bands kind of just starting out with 500 followers up to legends of the scene that like tour with the Sisters of Mercy and stuff,
Okay,
like everywhere along.
I take back Raymond Watts. Raymond Watts.
Okay.
We did an interview with
You
Raymond Watts,
you goo
Pig,
goo gaga
and
with
I
it.
go, ah, you did, yeah. I that was very much you're you're Pig. I
I think with
I love
Raymond though,
you.
it's so hard because he's just such a personable guy that like I might have started to stage fright, but he was just too like chill and cool. And so I just went with it. I'm like, it's just like talking to, you sitting here in the studio right now. Like this guy's just too cool for words. So yeah, it's hard not to just feel at ease around Raymond. He has that effect.
Yeah, but then you look at him and you're reminded of like, oh, but you're still Raymond Watts.
He is,
Like
he is.
that
And
is.
he is daddy. Like when we saw him live, and I'm like, that guy's, coming up on set and he's still owning those leather pants. Like it's still happening. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I saw
And
when they came around for the last
Sorry, I got
tour
myself a
when
little
they came.
overpumped there.
No. Oh my gosh. Oh, Jess is saying uh, that you have truly loved this session. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank y'all so much for hanging out in the chat with us. It's been so much fun.
Yeah, I'm
And
excited to watch it later and I'll get to go back and read all the comments everybody have. I didn't have it up here on the screen while it was going, so
Yeah. Well, I think I can speak for all of us when I say we have been absolutely inspired. It's been a joy. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to chat with us and
yeah.
to share your perspective and your inspiration. I just feel like truly you bring so much light to the community, and we're all so grateful.
Well, we appreciate you as well, and we're really excited to get to play with you on in May over at Smalls. So that's going to be an absolute blast. I'm really looking forward to it. That whole weekend's going to be cathartic and a
Yeah.
lot of fun, but also processing a lot. That first
Yeah.
time we did that, Detroit, so Mike did a show of just Detroit bands, kind of to honor Cat there before. And just, it was the first time I'd been back in Smalls, and we walked in, and I walked over to the bar, and I just about lost it. That was it's going to take a while to process through that, but having all those wonderful bands around and seeing those performances, I think is going to go a long way towards helping me do that. So
Yeah. I think that's from my experience of loss, I feel like one of the things that helps us all is when we're all able to be there for each other and to celebrate in a way that feels appropriate, which is through music, you know.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's what Cat would have loved to.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really like it's like the best you can do, right? Given the circumstances, like you're like, okay, well, all right, like how do I celebrate and respect this beautiful soul, you know? Yeah. And we will learn the lyrics so we can all sing along to
Yeah,
the
yeah, do
song.
that.
Yes.
Go check out the single. It's up there on Bandcamp or on Spotify, and take a moment to pause for a minute and just remember Cat.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my dear friends, thank you so much again. Sending you both a lot of love and so much excitement for seeing you soon.
The pleasure was ours. This was a lot of fun. And really,
Awesome.
truly, I said this before, as somebody who does interviews for what it's worth, you do an absolute great job. I really like the way that you ask questions and then let them breathe and really give people a chance to get to know the artist. So keep it up. You're doing a great job.
Oh, that means a lot. I've watched your interviews and I think you're just amazing and so thoughtful. So that really means a lot. I appreciate it. Yeah, awesome. Well, bye everyone. Have a
Bye.
wonderful
So
rest
much.
of your